Hello, this is Ian Beckles, and you're listening to Cigar City Radio.
Cigar City Radio is sponsored by No Clubs and StateMedia.com. Find out about upcoming concerts in Tampa Bay by visiting StateMedia.com and tagging No Clubs on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Use the hashtag #WeAreConcerts.
So this is what No Clubs has coming up in May. Tuesday, May 7th at Janus Live, a sold-out show with Tosh Sultana and the Pierce Brothers. Again, that's sold out, so hopefully you got tickets for that. I don't know if there are any available at the door. You'll have to find out. Thursday, May 16th, Whitechapel is on the Chaos and Carnage Tour 2019, along with Dying Fetus, Revocation, and a bunch of other black and death metal bands that I can't pronounce their names. So you know it's going to be good. That's at Janus Live. It's an early show. Doors are at 4:30. Tuesday, May 28th, another sold-out show at Janus Live. The return of Trey Anastasio Band, which I don't know what that means. When did they come previously? When they're returning, the Trey Anastasio Band? Either way, that show is sold out too. And Friday, May 31st, closing out a busy month, Black Bear, the Dead to the World Tour with Gashi at Janus Live. That one's not sold out, but it might sell out. So I would definitely pick up tickets for that now. Pick up tickets for all the shows coming up. We have a lot of cool shows coming to town in the summer, including Bowling for Soup and Real Big Fish, August Burns Red, Baroness, Humphreys McGee, Pedro the Lion. So much cool stuff coming our way. Head to statemedia.com for all the information on the shows and to pick up tickets, and use the hashtag #WeAreConcerts. Welcome to Cigar City Radio, episode number 98. The song you just heard was Dizzy by Jackson Boone. It's from the album Organic Light Factory, which is a great coffee shop record if I've ever heard one. Check that out on all the digital stores. I'm your host, Randy Ojeda, and making the magic happen, a man who likes his espresso, Mr. Jason Solanas.
So I heard a story a few months ago about a company that's making like fitness trackers.
Okay. God damn it, Jason. I'm going to stop you right there. I'm going to stop you right there. That was Jason Solanas, everybody. Give him a round of applause. Moving on. Our guest on this episode is Roberto Torres, the owner of Black Denim Apparel Company and the Blind Tiger Cafe, which if you're a longtime Cigar City Radio listener, you'll have heard about Blind Tiger before. It's one of the places where we first started recording the podcast. Roberto's been one of our earliest supporters. He's been supporting the podcast since day one, and this interview is honestly long overdue. I can't believe we waited so long to finally have him on the show, but it was a great time, a great hang. We met him at the Blind Tiger Seminole Heights location, but they also have locations in Soho, in Ybor City, and now in West Chase. And they're opening more. They have no plans of stopping, which is great to hear. Roberto is such an amazing person. He's an inspiration to myself, as a small business owner and entrepreneur. And he's living the American dream. He's an immigrant who came to this country, has worked his ass off every single day, and now he's got an incredible business, multiple incredible businesses, and he's very involved at the local and state level to try to make things better for other entrepreneurs and other immigrants who come to the area. So big shout out to Roberto for being the badass that he is. We're so honored to have him on this podcast. He drops a lot of wisdom that honestly people should be listening to. He's a very smart guy. He knows what he's doing. So here it is, episode number 98. Southwest Florida. We are at the world famous Blind Tiger Cafe here in Seminole Heights. If you're a longtime listener of the Cigar City Radio podcast, you will know the Blind Tiger very well because we've recorded a lot of episodes at the Ybor location.
Right.
But surprisingly, this is actually the first time I've been here in the Seminole Heights location, and it's really close to my house, so I don't know what I'm doing, man.
Welcome.
We're sitting here with the proprietor of Blind Tiger, as well as Black Denim,
Right.
and a number of other businesses, I think. I feel like you're doing so much stuff all the time. But
The Lab.
Yeah.
That's my favorite coffee shop, The Lab.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I used to live right next to it. I would go to it every fucking day.
Yeah.
Yeah, religiously.
Oh, man,
Yeah.
thank you.
No, thank you. That place is awesome.
So, yeah, we're joined by Mr. Roberto Torres. So, how are you doing today, Roberto?
Good. Life is good. Can't complain.
Good.
Yeah.
We're alive.
It's a good start.
Right on. So let's start from the beginning because I want to know, the man, the myth, the legend of Roberto. So where are you from,
Right.
and how did you get started doing what you're doing?
Yeah. So in the beginning, there was sky and water. And God, I'm kidding. Yeah. I was born and raised in Panama, which it's kind of different. Not so much from Tampa, but from the rest of the U.S. If you go now, it looks like Miami, which is kind of sad. But nonetheless, I went to school there, went to high school there. I came here in '95 to go to college. I graduated with an accounting and finance degree, became an auditor. So I was on track of doing like a corporate thing. When I came, I wasn't planning on staying. I was just gonna come to school and then go right back. But then got a job offer, and I could have gone between Miami, Atlanta, Orlando, South Florida. So I picked South Florida because at the time when I graduated, it was a year after September 11th, so it was kind of depressing, Ground Zero was a hole, and there wasn't what is now, and it was kind of crazy and couldn't drive. Atlanta was different because the traffic was just insane, So Orlando is just Mickey Mouse land, and I'm not a big fan of mouses.
Understandable. Sure.
Or mouses, still not a big fan of mouses. And so I ended up picking South Florida, and it was good for the first year. And then I moved to Fort Lauderdale, and it was okay. And then I moved to Palm Beach, and then I was like, this is dumb. But I really don't like South Florida that much.
Yeah.
So I ended up moving here, and then the whole thing about go to school, get a job, everything's gonna take care of itself. The bottom floor fell off when the recession happened, and then I figured that accounting was sort of insulated, but not really. I ended up getting laid off with half of the firm at the time that we had just gotten hired like 2 years prior. So started plotting and figuring out what it is that I wanted to do in order to kind of work for myself instead of just working for somebody else. And started kicking the idea of an apparel company, get a partner, his name is Luis. And then we started figuring out what the pieces are, putting out on Craigslist, hey, we're looking for a graphic designer, and like everything, it worked out perfectly. No, that it didn't. We got like 100 replies, and every reply was worse than the previous one. I didn't understand how that could have been.
Yeah.
The reply number one was good, and I was like, okay, well, it's gonna get better. It actually got worse, and we ended up meeting our partner Chris. He came in, did the designs, we hired them, and then he became our most expensive part of the business. So we went out to King Corona, give them an offer to kind of be part of the team, to be 3 partners, and then he took it, and then ever since then we haven't looked back.
Yeah. It's a good thing to have for an apparel company, is a solid designer
Right.
on the team. Because
Right.
I can see that being obviously one of the biggest parts of designing clothing.
Right. I was just the accounting portion. He was just the design portion, and my other partner was the marketing. So we very early understood that we didn't know anything from each other. And so whenever we had to make a decision, we had to trust each one of those, and it has worked so far. Every time I see business people or other people say, "Hey, you guys still together?" Because partnerships are not bulletproof as people might think, or it might not seem. And we didn't make it for so long that I think it became sort of like ethereal. This idea that someday we'll do something, and I think that's good because it teaches you to be humble. It teaches you to put your nose down and grind and just keep doing what it is that you need to do, and then you kind of like develop a plan, trust the process, and then you just repeat.
So this apparel company, this was Black and Denim?
Right.
Okay.
It was Black and Denim. Early stages 2008, really came out August 27, 2010. And the reason for that was we convinced the boutique down in South Tampa to kind of like take a look, and he said, "Hey, we have we're a local brand and blah, blah, blah." And the guy was like, "Well, we get calls like this every week. Not really. We're not interested. So send me something and then we'll take it out." And he did, and he said he wasn't interested. So then we went on like a Monday, like at 8 o'clock in the morning, and waited for him to get there. So he got there. We asked him like for 15 minutes of his time so that he can kind of take a look and give us some feedback. And we ended up talking for like 3 hours. Wow. And he still didn't buy anything, which is odd. But we got a call like about a month later and say, "Hey man, I know this lady in New York, and she's a showroom and she reps other brands. Maybe you should talk to her." So we said, okay. Like everybody else, we got into a plane and went to New York. Not really. No, we got in the car and drove 17 hours.
Jesus.
All the way to New York and stayed for a week with one of our friends in a 1-bedroom apartment with his girlfriend. So we were sleeping in the living room. They were sleeping in their bedroom. And we pounded pavement. We not only went to see that lady, but we also visited almost like 40 other showrooms in New York in a span of a week in the summer, which is super hot. They have this thing called the garment district, and there's like a little office. So we say, "Hey, I want every single male showroom," and we kind of ticked it off. If it was like super high end or suits or country wear or whatever, we kind of like, obviously that didn't fit our model. So we kind of weeded out, and most of the showrooms, they were either receptive to the idea or their fees were too high, or it wasn't like a good vibe or like a good mix. And the minute that we linked up with Sherry, is her name, the name of her showroom is Out of a Limb. So she's like, that's what she does, everything, out of a limb.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh man, yeah, I can. So she immediately started booking us appointments and started working on things. On the way down, the owner of that boutique called and said, "Hey, I've been thinking about it. You guys are from here. It's different. We do some trunk shows, but not a lot of people show up because it's a brand that people cannot connect with. So maybe we can throw a party, and then we can have everything on display. And depending on how many people order that night, then we'll put an order." That's exactly what we did, August 27, 2010. And that day we pre-sold like 79 T-shirts, from 6 to 8.
Wow.
And he put an order, and then we're like, "Yeah, our first order." So we went, made the stuff, brought it back, and then ever since he became our really, really good, not only good customer or mentor, but a really good friend until he sold that business. And we kind of follow the same model. After that, we won a business plan competition with Miller Coors. We won $50,000. It was a huge shot in the arm to help us develop back-end systems, a website. And then Macy's had this minority program called the Workshop at Macy's. And it was a 1-week boot camp. We applied the first year. We got denied. We applied the second year. They brought us in. It's like 2,800 applications. They interviewed 40 people, and they brought 17 back. And we was the only young men's apparel in that whole collective. And we got an opportunity to meet the CEO, the CFO, executive vice president of fashion, other people that are in the industry. We met Russell Simmons. I mean, it was really, really cool. It was like everything that New York is with like the glitz and glamour. So if we wouldn't have gone through that, I don't think that we would have been prepared for the phone calls that followed, which was Steinmart called us 6 months later, and then we were in 300 Steinmart stores across the country. And then Walt Disney, one of the buyers for Walt Disney said, hey, I think you guys are made in America, blah, blah, blah. And then now we do all the outfit for the American-made experience inside Epcot.
Oh, wow.
And
I didn't know that. That's really cool.
Yeah. But and we did all of this operating out of the back of a warehouse in Clearwater. And not a lot of people knew that. And then when we started thinking about, because we all lived in Tampa, to start figuring out how are we going to kind of get like a little bit of foot in the ground, somebody called us from the Blue Ship Cafe, the old Blue Ship Cafe, which is now like an apartment building or something like that. It's right next to Zydeco. Mm-hmm. Zydeco was a club where the Blind Tiger is now. It was like the architects that are right across from where the old Blue Ship Cafe is, right next to that Ybor mural. Yeah. And this guy say, hey, I have a little thing. We bring jazz. Musicians and blah 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 and yada yada. And his idea was like, hey, we have these musicians and they're coming and we want to outfit them with Black and Denim stuff. I said, okay. For 3 months, I completely blew him off. That's just the truth. Yeah. And then one day, we had an intern that was working he was working for not American Eagle, but Urban Outfitters. And we came, he saw it, I went down there with him, and then I was like, well, what is this place? Like, oh, it was like a smoothie stand or something like that, and the lady had left, and I said, well, maybe we can change this and make it look like a little store. And the kid was like all for it. I was a little hesitant, but we created sort of like this retail lab of a store setting so that we can better understand what our primary customer, which are other boutiques, actually experience from that customer interaction. And then we can tell them, hey, we actually have a store, and these are our best sellers, and this is how we sell it, and blah, blah. So it became sort of like this experiment. It was 2012. It was literally the size of half of this room. It was like 250 square foot. But Tampa was extremely desperate for wins. So we told the mayor. Mayor came and opened this thing. It's on YouTube. It's freaking hilarious.
Yeah, check that out.
He came, opened this little 250 square foot store. And then 2 months later, the building condemned, the city condemned the building, so we had to move across the street where the architects are. But there was this lady, her name was Margie Hoffman Porges, and she had a gallery. She had sold that gallery to Dave Scott, which owns the Bad Monkey. Mm-hmm. And that lady, Margie, she used to own a cafe called Cafe Oval. Which was in Tampa. She was there in the corner where the Blind Tiger is from like 89 to 2003. So we took this idea of, okay, we have this boutique, we moved it across the street to the gallery for 6 months, then that building sold, and then we're like, okay, where are we gonna go? And then we looked at Channel Side. Channel Side was dead, completely dead. There was nothing there other than like a surf shop and like
the Hooters.
Yeah, and the pizza place.
Right.
And so we went there for 6 months from like in 2013 for like 6 months, and then until like the whole thing sold again. I was like, man, what is it? And people buying buildings.
Yeah.
And we keep getting kicked out. So we ended up going back to Ybor, and we met our landlord, signed the lease for the Blind Tiger, and at the time it was a request for proposal from the airport to put a combined like a retail and like a food and beverage concept. So we made that so that we can prove the concept for this airport contract. And that was our intention, just to do one, and that was it. That was it. We're like, okay, this is kind of difficult. It's really different from what we do. So we're just gonna do one, and that's it. And the reason why we call it a Blind Tiger was because it's a euphemism for a speakeasy. So during the 1920s, during Prohibition, nobody would say, hey, come check out this club or speakeasy or whatever, they would say, "Come see this blind tiger animal attraction. It's blind, can't hurt you."
Yeah.
They will pay a nickel entry, and then they will put alcohol in the coffee cup. So when the cops came, they were drinking coffee. So our idea of concealment was conceal this boutique inside of the coffee shop. And when we started, that space was half a boutique, like a full-fledged boutique with jeans, t-shirt, hats, bags, hoodies, all that stuff. And the other half was a coffee shop. And we only had like 8 seats. And we had no clue what we were doing. We thought we were going to open like at 11 o'clock in the morning and be like this cool boutique concept. And that really quickly evolved to you need to open at 7 in the morning because people want coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
And then we started hearing the feedback, no seats, no seats, no seats. So we started adding more seats and starts pushing a lot of the inventory and a lot of the merchandise to the walls. And it is what it is today.
And now, why coffee of all things? Why go from an apparel company to an apparel company that also has a coffee shop?
Yeah, I think you know, it's I hope or I wish that I had a better explanation to this, but we saw this other concept that was starting up. It was called Rye 51. They called it a textile distillery, and what that meant, it was a liquor shop where they sell whiskey and then they sell clothes. For us, the concept of the coffee shop was really attractive. One, because there was only one in Ybor at the time, and we thought that we needed more coffee shops. I'm originally from Panama. I like drinking coffee, and we started, you know, from the feedback that we heard from this envision and plan from 2005, and then they redid another one in 2010. Some of the businesses that were lacking in the retail mix around 7th Avenue in the historic district was coffee shops. So that became apparent. After we learned the coffee business, we had an opportunity to expand to Seminole Heights, and then at that time we definitely started roasting because we needed to create our own vertical, and then, you know, people started calling us and say, hey, you know, you should put a store here or you should put a store there, and in that process we started listening, but we always try to keep or figuring out what is it that makes our Ybor store successful, and what are the check marks what are the checks that we can check off that list. So number one is pedestrian traffic, connectivity, proximity to the highway, sort of like in a dense district that there's always activity. And what that did is that it opened my eyes to urban planning and how we design stores. You know, how can we make our existing infrastructure work for future retail, since that's mostly what people want to spend their time. They don't want to go to the mall. They don't want to, you know, order everything on Amazon. They want this other consumer experience. So in order to do that, I started trying to familiarize myself with, you know, mobility and transit and how cities market, you know, special districts and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I think that really makes sense because I feel like, you know, just from following you on Facebook and Instagram, like you're a big part of building the community here and, you know, urban planning, like you said, and trying to, you know, really be an advocate for small businesses here in Tampa. And I think that's one of the things I appreciate about the Blind Tiger, because it's kind of like you mentioned King Corona, and, you know, what made King Corona so amazing is that it was a place where people could go and have conversations and businesses could form and people could make those kind of connections. Yeah. And the Blind Tiger is very similar, where, like, you know, we're meeting a couple interns here after this conversation, you know, like that's the kind of thing where there needs to be more of that in cities, because that's how people do business.
I'm incredibly bullish. You know, I think I can open like 15 more in Tampa alone, and I'm not going to St. Pete. It's just so far. It's in a whole nother city. They have enough coffee over there.
Yeah, it's true. But yeah, no, you're definitely a big part of the community, I feel like.
Thank you.
One thing I wanted to ask you about, because I think it's interesting, like you've done kind of the day in the life of a small business owner a few times on Facebook, where you post like, you know, you're here and you're dropping off product, and then you're over there and you're doing this and you're over here, and it's amazing like how much you do in a day and how much, you know, it seems like it's really tough to do all of this. So like what is your typical day like?
Yeah. The typical day starts early, like around 5. Get up, make some coffee. Be at the door by 6:30. Depending. Now we have stores that have kitchens, so depending on what do they need. I like that sort of customer interaction where I can go to like a huge wholesale produce market and buy everything by the box. So go down there, see other people, and then try to bounce as many stores as I can before 12. And the reason for that is because there's not a better gauge of what's happening unless it's you actually walking through those particular stores. I know that, I hope that this doesn't come too soon, but I know there's going to be a point where that's going to be physically impossible, and I'm going to have to rely on other people to know or to help me make sure that the consumer experience is, flawless. And until that day comes, I think that's my job to kind of keep doing that. If that's not the case, then I'm trying to keep myself and guard my time more now, because it's incredibly difficult to try to do, let's say, 6 or 8 hours worth of work if I only have 4 hours, or if I'm taking meetings, or if I'm stuck in traffic or something like that. So my idea of a typical day is really sort of like in a repetitive motion, kind of like a grind. But I like those because if we bring in somebody new to the team or anything like that, they can shadow me, and then if I'm actually looking at the process, I can find deficiencies and we can get better.
Yeah. No, that's a really great way to do it. And I think, to be this, to have a successful business, you have to be there, hitting the pavement and seeing it firsthand, as opposed to just reading a spreadsheet and saying like, okay, this is the numbers, so we need to be more efficient. Like, no, you have to you have to see what your business is actually doing.
Yeah. You actually have to be there and talk to people too, because not necessarily customers, but our own employees are the ones that nine times out of 10 come with like the best ideas. I know nothing. They're the ones that are behind the bar making everything happen. Our philosophy for hospitality is extremely simple. Two I guess points of thought. The first one is kind of like our code of ethics, or like our mantra: if you want to work in the Blind Tiger, blah blah blah. Number one is you want to make coffee, or the best coffee that you can, for as long as you have been making it. So if you have been making coffee for 3 months, that means that you are going to be making coffee like a person that's been doing it for 2 months. So it's going to be okay, but not great. And then if you have been doing it for 10 years, then that's going to be a super amazing coffee. So we can always teach that part. That's really ancillary. The second one is the most important one, I think. It's treat every customer and employee with a smile. Like when you're smiling at somebody, there's no way they can come back. I don't care what type of day they're having. That's really important because it sets the tone for communication. We really try or strive to treat every customer with a smile on our face, because whenever they come here, I don't want them to feel like they have to read a book about coffee in order to understand or know, okay, well, what's a cortado and what's a, white, flat white, or, what's a cappuccino or whatever else, We kind of make it really simple for them to walk them through the menu, and then if they're familiar with other shops like the Evil Mermaid, then we can kind of say, okay, well, you're used to this, and then we like this, you might kind of like this, and then the third one is to have fun, and that one is tough because some people take it really seriously and they have a lot of fun. Some people don't even want to approach it that way. They just treat it as a job, and then they come in and they get out, and I think when we combine those three, it makes it really simple, and a lot of people tell us that our culture, our business culture, sets us apart from other shops. You know?
I would agree with that for sure.
Yeah. I a lot of people take it way too seriously. You know, we're not curing cancer. We're not rocket scientists. I mean, but we're still trying to make a decent quality cup of coffee. You know, and it shouldn't be that difficult. And then the other point, you know, the other train of thought is that when it comes to hospitality, we don't call it customer service. We call it hospitality because we really want to provide the most hospitable experience every time that you walk through here. You're either trying to quench your thirst or mitigate your hunger. Those two, and there are two things in the scale that are going to help us keep that experience even keel. First one is the product. We're always tinkering with it, trying to roast the best beans and making sure that we have everything lined up and ready so that is perfect. And then the second one is hospitality, it's customer service. If one of those two is not there one day for whatever reason, the other one is going to be there to pick you up, you know?
Yeah.
If for any reason that coffee came out wrong or too hot or too cold or lukewarm or whatever, it is the way that you make them feel that it's going to say, okay, well, yeah, that's fine. It was an off day. I'll be back tomorrow and it will be back to normal. Whenever I was listening to a podcast last night from Freakonomics Radio, and it talked about why you shouldn't open a restaurant. And the advice that guy gave was to the T. It was perfect. I think this is not for the faint of heart. It's not for somebody that doesn't want to work hard. It's not for the money. I think you have to have a genuinely sense of want to serve people. And then you have to have like sort of find joy in that to be able to do this kind of work.
Yeah, you. It seems like you get a sense of pride from
Right.
You know?
I mean, you know, to your point, there's people that said, you know, I started my business meeting at one of your shops. That's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, I had people said I went to one of your business and I thought I could do it better, so I started a business. That's even better to me.
Yeah. Right.
Or I've seen people that say, well, you did it. If you could do it, I can do it too. That I get tremendous amount of joy from that. And it's not because I'm an egotistical person. I think it's because anybody that can think that they can write their own ticket, I think they can do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, not to get super preachy about it or whatever, but you're living the American dream right now. I mean, you came from another country, came here to America, and you built a business, you know, as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and became a citizen 7 years ago. I was really adamant about, I'm not necessarily not becoming a citizen, but it was sort of about this thing about, you know, and still, you know, in immigration, the immigration topic or the subject or the conversation is one that we're going to have forever. It's not going to be, I don't think we're going to get rid of it. And the reason why is because I think technology has helped us connect in a way that we didn't before. It has also helped us disconnect some of our relationships. And it's making it incredibly easy for anybody to pick up and go somewhere else and start again. I mean, I think this thing about immigration, through that, not just in the U.S., in the world, is going to be something that is not going to go away.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the dream. Like that's why people came, you know, to this country, and that's Ellis Island, and that's, you know, my parents are both immigrants, you know, so it's something I feel passionately about.
Yeah.
I like to see people come and you know, live the American dream. Like, this is it.
Right.
Yeah. You know? So what advice would you have for, you know, just other entrepreneurs or somebody wanting to start their own business?
I think now, like I said, it is way easier to start a business now than it was, I don't even know, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years ago. You know, there's a basic set of rules that are going to dictate your success or how quickly you do it. You know, they don't have to do anything with like how much money you have or anything like that. It's really going to be about your work ethic. If you make what your business is going to be, if you're going to devote your entire life's work, then you're not going to work a day in your life because that's what you do. You're not going to let it define you, but you're so interested in it that exactly what it is. If you like dogs and you're gonna have a dog daycare, then you're gonna see dogs for the rest of your life, and you're gonna love those dogs. And same thing goes for coffee, beer, wine. I don't know, carpet, rugs. You know,
whatever it is that you're
passionate about. You know, you have to be passionate, and it doesn't have to be a thing where it's a business at first. It can be a hobby. Or it can be a long life passion. It can be like, kind of like the guy from The Office, Michael Scott. He said that he was selling candles in the flea market at a loss for like 9 years, but because he liked candles. I honestly think that, you know, as long as you're passionate about a subject, it can be plumbing, which is probably the least appealing or sexy thing when it comes to trades. But it has a drawback, right? You're dealing with plumbing, you're gonna get wet. If you're doing electricity, you might get shocked. It just comes with the territory. If you're in coffee, you're gonna be overly caffeinated every day. So now it's not something that I enjoy. It's kind of like an occupational hazard.
Just something you gotta do, right?
Yeah. Going back to your point, you need to find something you're passionate about. You have to devise a plan, because if you don't devise a plan, the problem with that is that it's just a pipe dream, or it's just a dream. If you devise a plan and you put bullet points and you understand really quickly how is it that you're gonna grow or scale or maybe talk to somebody that has already or is already in that space, then you can say, oh, okay, well, this person did it, this is how they did it. So reading a lot of biographies helps. And then I will also say reach out to them. Before it was pen pal, you know, you stick a stamp and then you send somebody a letter. You hope and pray that they email you back, or that they send you a letter back. Now you can do that with email or social media or anything, you know.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are really accessible through LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. 9 times out of 10, those people that are in that position, they're gonna try to reach back and say, hey, yeah, I see myself in you 20 years ago. So yeah, I want to help.
Yeah. I've been really surprised by that in our own business, you know, reaching out to people that I thought were completely inaccessible who, do you need to?
No.
Okay. Reaching out to people who I thought were completely inaccessible, who are actually really generous of their time, you know?
Okay.
And that's been great to see, you know?
Very cool.
But anyway, so we're pretty much out of time. I know you got a busy day. You probably have to hit a few more stores now. Yeah. So what's next for the Blind Tiger and Black and Denim and for Roberto? Like, what are you really excited about that you're working on now?
Yeah, like I said, we're really fortunate and really excited to kind of work and create more spaces. Every single one, we try to make it a collaboration. So I think we have like 3 more this year that we want to open.
Wow. You just opened the West Chase one, right?
Just opened the West Chase one, yeah.
My mom texted me and she's like, that hat you always wear. They opened one over at by the house. And I'm like, oh, yeah, the Blind Tiger. Like, you should go in.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So 3 more locations?
3 more locations, hopefully. Yeah, fingers crossed.
Can you tease any where they might be, you know?
Somewhere in the vicinity of downtown, probably in like 2 months.
Oh, I need that.
I saw that on your Facebook.
Yeah.
You can't hide that from me.
For when I go into the symphonic office, that's what I need is the Blind Tiger downtown. That's perfect. That's
awesome.
Great. So cool. Any final thoughts for the Cigar City radio listeners? Any last words?
We lost a legend this week. He was instrumental in our business, and we keep Dom's memory, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Jason was lucky enough to have a conversation with Don that was here on this podcast. So if you're listening to this and you know who Don was, then, you know, check out that episode. That's one of the things I love about doing this podcast is, you know, now we can have these conversations that exist forever, that people can go back and hear, this is who this person was,
right?
You know, not just read about it or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and, like I said, I mean, a lot of our early business meetings were at King Corona. That's where we figured out what we wanted to do, you know?
Like a lot of people, I can imagine,
People met there that got married.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Relationships formed, businesses formed, and You know, people weren't going in there just for the cigars. There were plenty of places to get cigars.
People went in there without drinking alcohol or smoking cigars.
Yeah.
People went in there to drink coffee
Right.
and smell cigars.
Yeah.
And get married.
Yeah. And hang out with Don and Brenda and yeah.
Or getting a haircut. I mean, obviously, you know, this
Yeah.
is the king of mashups, right? Like this guy had a barber shop instead of a cigar shop, and that's how they were before.
Before they had a barber shop, they had a shoe shop in there. His son
Right.
sold boutique high-end shoes.
Wow, I
Out
didn't
of
know
King
that.
Corona, yeah, for a short
That's
time.
insane.
I mean, yeah, you want to talk about somebody that grinded and worked
man.
hard every day. Don Barca.
Every day was fucking life.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah. What's interesting is that I had a conversation with him late January. He told me, "Hey, I have an espresso machine that we ended up getting for the house, but you know, it's here or whatever." And then I was like, "Dude, yeah, I'll take it." So I went and bought it. Now I'm not selling that thing forever.
Yeah.
And we sat down in the parking lot and we talked for like 3 hours, like on like a Tuesday, and that was the kind of guy. That was the kind of guy he was. He was just extremely down to earth, common sense, and at the same time, no nonsense.
Yeah.
And he gave you a piece of his mind. I remember the first time I met him. I wanted to do a cigar business, and he's like, "I'm gonna tell you everything so that you don't do it."
Yeah.
And he was successful. Like, and every time somebody that would have been jaded, or somebody that would have been, sort of like tired, or hear somebody like, "Oh, here comes another young guy with a stupid idea," he wouldn't even give me time today, but he just sat down, listened to me pitch, and then, okay, well, you're thinking about this, but this is actually here. And I think that exercise of experience, the more and more that we practice and see that, the better and better it is, to the point where now I've actually done the exercise of looking at the way that I used to write emails, and where my mind was when we first started, gives me a glimpse as to who I was and how was I thinking. My perspectives have shifted tremendously from the time that I came here until I graduated from school, and then I completely wrote off higher education for whatever reason, and then I'm kind of like reeling back. I do think that there is a place for higher education, maybe not in its current form, but maybe in a different form. You don't need college to be successful. And at the same time, I don't think you can not be successful if you ended up going to college. And this idea about street smarts, about hustle, about grind, he embodied all of that because he was here, and with his wife he grew up to like 11 stores, and then sold it, and then started the thing again. So over and over and over again, he just kept having figuring out this little formula: rinse, repeat every time. And I've had the opportunity to talk to other people, like the guy that used to own Fados before it was called Florida Bakery. All Cuban guy, 80 years old, barely speaks any English. And I said, "Man, what's the secret to success? Tell me what it is. How have you been doing it for the last 50 years?" And he said, it's a PCD. It's perseverance, consistency, and dedication. If you can do those three over and over and over and over again, people are going to notice. Hard work never goes unnoticed. I tell that to all my employees. They might not tell you all the time, but everybody notices.
Yeah. That's right on, man.
PCD.
Yeah.
PCD. Let's do it.
There you go.
Drug.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but
Not
a
to be
good drug.
confused.
A good drug.
Not to
Get
be
yourself a
confused
cup of it at Blind Tiger Cafe.
Not to be confused with CBD.
Yeah, right. Yeah, when is there going to be CBD coffee here at the Blind Tiger?
I don't. That's weed, right? Is weed? No.
It's
a cannabinoid,
it's
yeah.
It's like one of the pieces of weed, I guess.
I don't know if it's still a Schedule I substance.
No, it's legal.
Federal-
Yeah,
CBD is legal.
Yeah, like
CBD is legal?
in New York and Brooklyn, like all the coffee shops are like CBD coffee, CBD this, CBD that. It's like the thing now. So
Okay. I need to look into CBD. now.
well, if you add it,
don't know, man.
let us know. We'll come and try it. So, all right. Thanks a lot, Roberto. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
We'll see
Randy,
you around the
Jason.
shop, of course, as usual.
Yeah. This is exciting. And we're not even going to talk about music, but
No, we don't want. We talk about music all the time. I want to talk about you, man.
We can have a part 2 sometime.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Let's do a part 2 and we'll just talk.